A bit more, please. What are you doing today? I know. What have you had for breakfast?
You know what I had for breakfast. I ate a bacon sandwich with an egg split on top in brown rye bread. And one of those bits of rice gone right up on my filling and it's killing me. I can't get it out.
Right. Okay, we'll start from the question again. When and where did you first hear of Otway?
I can't remember the exact date. When would it be? 1970 something, wouldn't it? Or would it be 79 or 6?
77.
77, 1977. Yes, I remember it well. The record Really Free, which I thought was really good, so I bought it. And I don't buy that many records. And then I found out my brother, who was away from home at the time, he'd bought the same record, so we had the same interest. And we said, "Have you heard this record?" And he said, "Have you heard the other side? That's really stupid." And we played that. I've always wanted to play that guitar riff. I've never learned how to do it. Mr. Barrett won't tell me. Trade secret. So that's the first time I heard of him, when most people heard of him, in 77 when the single came out.
And you saw him on the Whistle Test, I understand.
Yeah, I saw that as well. I used to watch that, as a young music enthusiast, and then he came on with Wild Billy Barrett doing all his jumping around and jumping off the speakers, which was brilliant. It was good because it was different, with a sense of humour instead of the old punk band smashing up their gear like the Who used to do and all that. Is Mr. Otway actually diving on, smashing up his spine, which I thought was slightly original compared to smashing up your equipment. Although he did smash his equipment up as well, just by the way he plays it, not out of malice.
What first attracted you to work with John?
Well, maybe you should ask John what first attracted him to work with me. It was I do a thing called The Wow Show, which was with Lee Corns, Mark Arden and Paul Elliott. And I can't remember, it must have been over 15 years ago, we had a gig in New York. We did a week of comedy shows in New York, and just so happened John Otway was on with us as well. He was on before us. And I said, "Oh, this is John Otway, Really Free, beware the flood." And the other guys didn't know I was talking. I said, no, he's really good, he's really funny. And just so happened we needed, one of our sketches, we needed a guitar. And he said, "Well, go and you know Otway." I said, "I don't know him, I'm a fan, I don't know him." He said, "You go and ask if we can borrow his guitar." I said, "You can't go up to a musician and ask to borrow their guitar because they're like, they'll treat them like gods. You can't just..." He said, "No, we need one." So I went in and there was Mr. Otway in the dressing room, and I said, I'm a fan, I've got your records, we were on before you. Is there any chance of borrowing you?" He said, "Yeah," and he threw it across the room to me, this Gibson and that court, and I looked at it, and it looked like a beaten up old tennis racket, and there was no respect there for the machinery at all. And so all we did was do a bit of strumming on it. It didn't need to be heard or anything like that. And then I said, "Thank you very much." He said, "Right," and he just sort of threw it in the corner like that. And then when he came on stage and he was playing tennis with it and smashing it around, I thought, well, there goes that conception that all guitarists, treat their machinery with respect. And that's where we met him. That's where I first met him personally. And he saw our show and I saw his show, and we said, "Hey, I like what you do," and vice versa. And then we used to go out drinking Bloody Marys in New York, which sounds very high flying, doesn't it? But and then when we came back to England, we used to ring each other up and find out what we're doing.
And that led on to a video called The Saxophone Joke.
That's right. He found out he's always trying to do projects and film his video his songs and that, and he got me and Mark to come along and write some material and do this video called the Saxophone Joke, which is the idea of you tell the punchline first. I think this is a long time ago. You do the punchline first, and then you do the feed line second, which sort of blows it really, but it's all different. It's a long time ago. I can't quite remember it. But we'd worked with him before then. Again with the Wow Show, when we came back to England, he said he wanted to get into acting, and how do you do it? And I said, "Well, do you want to be in our show?" And we got him to be in one of the Wow shows to play a rock star. He was very good at that. All he had to do was sit at a table with his guitar, and we did all the talk, and he just had to say, "Yeah, man," and he did that for about half an hour, and that was very successful.
Okay, how did you enjoy working with him in the Saxophone Joke?
Whatever. Well, he's very easy to work with. He's usually got an idea worked out. It's usually quite a stupid idea, but it's worked out. He knows what he wants, and he's very amenable to work with, and usually provides beer and sandwiches. Yeah, so he's fun. It's not exactly a big-headed rock star.
What was the last project you worked on? Was it the?
I think it would have been the Saxophone Joke.
A good couple of years ago.
Also did a couple of things with him. Yeah, a couple of things where Mark and I, the Oblivion Boys, he'd do a gig, we'd pretend to be his roadies and run on, with our bottoms showing and trying to fix his microphone while he was singing and knocking it over and all that sort of thing. Okay, he invited us along to it. And also he invited me. I've always wanted to be in a band, and he said, well, you can be in my. It's a great thing. He said, well, you can be in my band, and he just gave me a guitar and he said it goes A-E-A-E-B. I said, I don't know B. He says, it's all right, neither do I. So you go on and just play this song, and did it. Body Talk, I think it was. And he gave me his guitar, and I was so nervous. I played it so hard I broke all the strings on it, but he didn't mind. That's great.
Did you ever meet Willie?
Yeah, again we got Willie along to do some shows when we were doing the WoW shows at the Gate Theatre, and he came along, and that's the first time I'd met him, and I'd heard all about him, and he was great as well. He came on and with a guitar, doing the old the saw halfway through the Spanish guitar and playing the tune, and sawing the guitar in half and walking off, which I thought again was brilliant. That's the first time I met him.
They complemented each other quite well. Well, they were very different, A, musically, and B, personality.
Yeah.
Personality-wise, because John was very sort of quiet off stage.
Yes, he is. John's very quiet, slipper-wearing pipe smoker off stage. Yeah, there was always a little bit of friction there, which I've always asked John about. I always say to him, I say, why did you split? Being in a double act and a marriage and in working with other people, I know that tensions can arise, but I always ask him, why did you two never? And he went, no, don't ask. And that's all I ever get out of him. That's it. And then I asked Mr. Barrett, I said, well, so why don't you work with John anymore? He goes, well, ask him. And that's all over 15 years, that's all you get. Musical differences, I guess. I don't think Willie liked John's ABBA collection.
What do you feel is Otway's real talent?
Otway's real talent? Cut. Well, I think you'd say the same. It'd be unfair to say he hasn't got any, because he has. Because I mean, when you see him perform, he's brilliant. I mean, last time I saw him at Glastonbury last year, took the place by storm, and the year before, so he can do it. But I think he works on his strength. He doesn't. What am I trying to say? His strength. He plays to his strength. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, he doesn't. Not overstretch himself, but he's not too ambitious. Although he's very, he comes up with wacky ideas.
All right, to put the question again, what are his strengths?
Yeah.
Right. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're quite right. You see, you've got me. I'm on my back foot here. Well, he's very professional. He turns up on time. He does his gig. He gets laughs. He's still playing those same old songs, which are good. He's very funny. Very funny. I mean, when I watch him on stage, people just look at him, with their mouths open, can't believe that somebody's doing that sort of thing. He's totally committed to it. Totally committed to being stupid.
As a comedian, do you find? I mean, obviously he's not a comedian in the classical sense, but do you find it quite refreshing that it's a musical? Oh yeah, I mean, I've done gigs with him when I've done stand-up comparing or doing a set, and then I've introduced him and his guitar, and I thought, well, it's not going to go down well because they like to hear jokes or stories. They're here to watch stand-ups. Then he comes on and he just goes, hello, and they start laughing, and he just hits the chords, and he's off, out of tune, and, I think that's it. I think people just I know he knows what he's like, but I think he thinks he's Freddie Mercury up there, and then they're seeing some bloke from Aylesbury, balding bloke from Aylesbury, trying to sing. So that's the confrontation of that. And he always gets a laugh. So I think he's worked very hard to do that, because like I said, a lot of the gigs, it's like they just want to see straight pure comedy, and then he gets something, he still gets laughs. What song do you find probably the most entertaining? I mean, you've seen him numerous times.
Oh yeah,
same song, same set, 25 years.
Yeah, well, I mean, really Free is my favourite. Beware the Flowers is a great, and again I've asked him what that's all about, and he's vaguely told me. I like the guitar on that, but when he does the Green Green Grass of Home, I think it's better than Tom Jones. Sorry, Mr. Jones, but the emotion there, when he does his emotional stuff, like Cheryl's Coming Home and all those ones, the ones where he's singing about love from the heart, and he still makes you laugh. I like those ones. The Green Green Grass of Home, I think, is great. Because he's a trier, and because he did get sort of shoot to start him with a hit song and a bit of money coming in, I guess. then that all went, and he kept plodding on and still doing good stuff. So when you know, when you say, like you say, when someone mentions Otway, they tend to laugh and then shake their heads and look down.
If you could sum him up in one word, what would the word be?
Well, all right, the word would be fool, but in the nicest sense of the word, as in strawberry. No, as in you know, as in the medieval way, as opposed to idiot. No offence, John.
Could you see him very much as a court jester?
Yeah, that's what I just said. I think I just said it. Medieval fool, court jester. That's what I said without saying it.
Why do you think John, I suppose, really hasn't worked on telly? You know, hasn't. I mean, he's done acting, but it's not really developed, perhaps, the way that other people might have.
Well, no, very serious. Why haven't I? Well, he's done quite a bit, hasn't he? I mean, he's done, you know, bits and bobs on TV, on kids series and commercials and stuff. Just have to keep plodding away at it. I don't know. I mean, you know, he's not handsome. He's got that whiny Aylesbury voice. He's very thin and gangly. I don't know why he's not more on television. I have really no idea.
If you were going to, I know you're a TV executive or a casting person.
If I was a TV executive or a casting person, I'd slip my wrists. Well, that's that out of the way. No, go on, go on.
How would you, if you were to typecast him?
Yeah.
How would you typecast him? What sort of?
I think it'd be the bloke who's always standing in the background in overalls at a garage and just walking past saying good morning, you know, not actually, you know, there's a big scene going on and he's a bloke walking past with a ladder under his arm, you know, bit of upstaging. All right, yeah. I think he'd be good at that. That's what he's going to do in my film anyway.
Were you ever around when John had the Rolls Royce?
No, didn't know him when he had a Rolls Royce. No. I didn't know he ever had one. Did he have one?
Yeah, he bought one. Couldn't drive, but he
No,
bought one.
yeah, of course, yeah.
Right.
I knew him when he had an Austin Allegro, an orange Austin Allegro, and he used to put all his gear in it so that his amps and his guitars and all his electrical stuff he likes to have and all his microphones which he smashes up, and there's no room except for the driver, you know, that's all there is. Excuse me. That'd be my agent.
If an alien had landed on, how would you describe physically looking at Otway to somebody who has never heard or seen of him?
Right. Thin, gangly, uncoordinated, and an inane grin, but friendly. You know, I bet he's good in a fight because he's all points, isn't he? Elbows and sharp. He's very sharp looking, but gentle, of course. He's never been in a fight. I don't know. Well, he probably has, but not his own fault. I'm sorry, I'm being very succinct to the point. I'm not rambling at all, am I?
No. Well, it's good because I normally cut it down anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm editing as I go, so you're just going to. Yeah, well, there you are. There you are. Getting to the point.
Now, John always wears a white shirt for some unknown reason. It's always white shirt, black jeans.
Yeah.
Can you understand perhaps why that is?
Well, he does every time we go to a gig and see he's got that black shirt and white shirt, and he'll wear his denim jacket over the top, and then he'll take it off to go on stage, and it'll be a lovely white shirt. And I used to wear white shirts like that. I mean, that's when I think we got well known. He had to be wearing a white shirt and black jeans, and so he wears that. It's like, you know, Gary Glitter always walking around in silver just in case you forget. And he always has a lovely white shirt on, and they're good ones as well. And then he rips those buttons off every time, and it must cost him a fortune. Because I don't think he sews them back on. There's a lot of white shirts. Yeah, he does. It's this sort of like, I don't know, I think he looks very 18th century rogue, you know, the pirate, the white flowing shirt and the thin black legs.
Can we just stop there?
Which I suppose some people like. And he's kept very well for his age now, because most people around that age start to develop a bit of a paunch, beer or midlife or whatever. But his stomach stayed pretty flat, and white and hairy and slimy. I've been close to it, so I know what it's like.
How long do you think he can go on? Because he's a very sort of physical.
He is very physical, yeah. How long can he go on doing that sort of stuff? Well, I really believe that he'll do it to the day he dies, which could be any day next week. No, he will. You know, he's and this is a compliment because I'm a fan of Gary Glitter as well. He's a bit of a Gary Glitter, the Peter Pan of pop, and he'll keep doing that. Well, he has to really, doesn't he? Pay the bills, but he'll keep doing that till he'll dive off that speaker stack one day and not get up, and I suppose that'll be it. And he'll still carry on doing it then. He'll probably come on in a wheelchair and do it, and I hope he does.
All right, we'll pop back to a couple of the first ones.
I first met him, heard of him, but met him in New York, totally by accident, show business accident. We were doing a show called The Wow Show in New York. We'd been asked to go over there and do this comedy show. It's with me, Mark Arden, Lee Corns, and Paul Elliott. Four-man show. And we were on late at night at the Danceteria, which doesn't exist anymore. We were at 2 o'clock in the morning, but the bloke on before us was John Otway. And the other guys didn't know him. And I said, it's Otway, you know, really free and Beware of the Flowers. They said, well, do you know him? Go and borrow his guitar because we need a guitar for one of our sketches. I said, you can't borrow a guitar off a rock star. You know, they treat them like, you know, like they're so precious. And I said, no, well, we need one. So I went in and there he was, and he didn't mind at all. He threw it at me. And I caught it, and we used it, and then I gave it back to him, and he just threw it down in the corner. And when he was on stage, I saw the way he treated it. I realised he wasn't the normal rock star type of person. And we got talking, and it was his birthday. That's right, it was his birthday in New York. So we went drinking Bloody Marys. He liked a good Bloody Mary, and that's how we got to know each other. And he wanted to get more into performance stuff, and I was interested in music. So that's we started working together. In the end, started doing a couple of shows. We got him involved in a couple of Wow shows.
You supported him on his 2000th. How did that come about?
Well, I always wanted a band, but I formed a band about 2 years ago, and it's a punk band, which is a bit too late because I've only just turned 40 myself. But I thought I've been too busy acting and being a comedian to get a band together, so I decided to do it now. And it's a three-piece, you know, punk thrash band, and it's good. And John's always been a bit of a. I thought if John could do it, I can do it. And and we were up in Edinburgh. This is before the 2000 gig at the Astoria, and he always comes out to Edinburgh. I always go to Edinburgh. We always have a good time at home. We're having a drink in a bar, and he said, I've got the 2000 gig. You must come along. I said, I'd love to go on stage with you. He said, well, I've got Wild Willie Barrett. I've got Son. I've got you know, the other guy with him, and this, that, and that. And I said, well, my band. What about my band? He said, no, I'd love to, Steve, but I can't. So I bought him another drink and another drink, and in the end I got him so drunk, and I got to sign a piece of paper saying, you are playing at the Astoria. And then I held him to it, and I just phoned everybody, I'm at the Astoria with my band, and we've only been going a year. And we did it, and it was a great gig. It was a good gig. And we got pulled off for being on too long. I think he was frightened we were going to be better than him, but I don't think there's any chance of that.
Now, you've seen him sort of act in commercials and things like that. Which part do you feel that he's probably...
I've seen him act in commercials. I've seen him in commercials. I don't know about that word act. Yeah, all right then. His Dane Pack, I think, is a classic. The mountaineering bacon. His Iron Brew Rod Stewart Rockstar. Well, he can do that stand on his head, so that doesn't really count. But I remember when we were working with him in the Wow Show in London, he said, I really want to get into acting. How do I do it like you? I said, well, you need an equity card and an agent, and then that's it. Saying it, knowing full well that, you know, that's hard work getting an equity card and an agent, and he's used to being, you know, bands and stuff like that. 2 months later, turn on the television, there he is in his tent doing a Dane Pack advert. So he'd obviously, and I said, I phoned him. I said, yeah, well, I do what you did. I went and got an equity card and I got an agent. I said, well, that's very good. So he's very practical like that. He is very sort of quiet. I was surprised when I thought, great, I know a rock star. I know someone who's in a band. I know someone who's on Top of the Pops. I can do the old hang around with the Keith Moon type people and do what they do, which I've always wanted to do and do occasionally. And so you do the gig, you're very hyper after a gig, and you go, right, have a few beers, a chat, you sign a few autographs and a few beers, and you think, all right, here we go, we're taking off often like, hotels, televisions out the windows and all that stuff. And he has about 4 beers, and he starts slurring and falls asleep in the corner, and that's it. So John, we're going down a club. Pipe hanging out, the tobacco, flaming tobacco falling out onto his black trousers, and that's it. 4 or 5 beers, and then he sort of, slumped in a corner, grinning. That grin is always there. But if you said you're on stage, you'd be up and on.
Brilliant. Think of anything else?
Okay? No, I think that's it.
Jolly good.